I grew up watching my parents struggle under the weight of their mortgage. For years, my mom and dad would sit at the kitchen table, squinting at bills, stressing over every line item. From an early age, I knew how much it meant to them. It wasn't just a house. It was their pride, their hard work, and their biggest expense. They'd talk about how one day they'd be free of it, but it always felt like a distant, impossible dream. I wanted to change that. Years of scraping, saving, and saying no to things that would have been fun or luxurious finally added up. I managed to get a great job, climbed the ranks, and, finally, had enough to give them the one thing they'd never thought possible: freedom from that mortgage. So I did it. I paid it off in full as a surprise. I didn't even tell them I'd done it until after it was finished. The night I told them, I expected excitement, gratitude, maybe even tears. And, at first, that's exactly what I got. "You did what?" my mom said, her voice shaky, her hand covering her mouth. "Paid it off," I said, smiling as I held up the receipt. "No more monthly payments. You're free." My dad looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. He hugged me, and my mom wiped tears from her cheeks as she thanked me over and over. For a moment, I felt like the best son in the world, like everything I'd worked for had been worth it. But as the days passed, I started to realize I'd made a silent assumption that was about to turn everything upside down. My partner and I had been together for 2 years, and we were ready to move in together. We couldn't afford a place of our own yet, so I figured, now that I'd paid off the house, I'd ask my parents if we could both stay there while we saved up. One night, after dinner, I brought it up casually, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. "Mom, Dad, I wanted to ask you something," I said. "Since the mortgage is paid off and things are a little easier now, I was thinking, would it be okay if my partner moved in with us? Just for a year or so, while we save for our own place." The silence that followed was deafening. My mom's eyes narrowed, and my dad set down his fork with a deliberate slowness that felt almost hostile. "Are you serious?" my dad finally said, his voice low and tense. "You really think that's appropriate?" "I mean, yeah," I said, trying to keep my tone calm. "It'd help us both save. And I figured, since I paid off the house, maybe you'd be open to it." My mom shook her head, her expression hardening. "Paying off the mortgage doesn't mean you get to decide who lives here. This is still our house, and it's not right to bring in someone who isn't family." I was stunned. I thought it would be different now. "I'm not saying I want to take over, but I thought you want to help us get started on our own. You need to respect our rules," my mom replied sharply. "This is our home, and we're not comfortable with someone else living here." "But I trailed off, trying to gather my thoughts. "I paid off your mortgage. I thought we'd at least get some flexibility." My dad's face hardened, and he pointed at me. "Listen to me. Paying off the mortgage was a gift you chose to give. We didn't ask for it, and we're not just going to let you walk all over us now because of it." I felt anger bubble up. "Walk all over you? I gave you something huge. I didn't do it to control you, but this isn't some stranger we're talking about. It's my partner." "Well, maybe you should have thought of that before you got involved." My mom snapped back, her eyes flashing. "We're not about to turn our home into a free-for-all. This is what we're comfortable with, and that's final." The conversation ended with tension so thick you could have cut it with a knife. I went to bed angry, feeling betrayed and confused. I thought we were family. I thought they'd be on my side, but their stubbornness only deepened over the next few days. Things got worse after that. Subtle, underhanded attempts to make me feel like a guest in the home I'd helped pay for. My mom suddenly started implementing house rules that felt designed to remind me I was under their control. She insisted on a strict schedule for everything: dinner, laundry, even the TV remote. It was ridiculous. One evening, I couldn't find an important document I'd left on the kitchen counter: my bank statement. When I asked about it, my dad acted clueless, then found it later in a random drawer. He smirked as he handed it to me, saying, "Maybe if you kept better track of your things, you wouldn't be so dependent on us." It was like they were trying to prove some point, that no matter what I did, this was still their house and I was still their kid. It didn't stop there. They started whispering to relatives, painting my partner as a bad influence, claiming I was acting out and trying to control them with money. Soon, I was getting calls from aunts and uncles, all telling me to respect my parents' house rules, to be grateful for their generosity. One evening, after a particularly rough phone call with my uncle, I finally confronted them. "Why are you doing this?" I asked, barely containing my frustration. "I helped you. I made things easier for you. And now you're treating me like a stranger in my own home." My mom crossed her arms, looking at me with an expression that was almost smug. "We appreciate what you did, but that doesn't mean you can do whatever you want here. This is our home, and if you can't respect that, maybe it's time for you to leave." My stomach dropped. "You're throwing me out? After everything?" "We're not throwing you out," my dad replied, his tone as cold as ice. "We're giving you a choice. You either follow our rules, or you find somewhere else to live." I laughed, the sound hollow and bitter. "Unbelievable. I gave you everything, and now you're acting like I'm the one being unreasonable." "Fine, I'll go." And that was it. I went to my room, packed up as much as I could fit in my car, and left that night. My partner met me at the door with open arms, and we spent the night on her couch, holding each other as I tried to process what had just happened. The next day, I called my parents. I was calm, but firm. "I'm cutting off any financial help. That includes maintenance on the house, groceries, anything extra. You want to control? You got it. But you're not getting a dime from me anymore." My mom's voice hardened. "How dare you talk to us like this after everything we've done for you?" I took a deep breath. "Mom, I'm not doing this to be cruel. I did something huge for you because I wanted to make your lives better. But I won't be manipulated. I won't let you use guilt to keep me tied to a situation where I'm treated like an outsider." She was silent for a long time. I could hear her breathing, the weight of her anger pulsing through the line. "Fine," she said finally, her voice shaking. "If that's how you want it, then don't expect us to welcome you back when you come crawling." I hung up without saying goodbye. I felt a pang of loss, but also relief. A relief I hadn't felt in years. Since then, my partner and I have moved into our own apartment. It's small, and we're still saving, but every corner of it feels like ours. There are no hidden strings, no passive-aggressive power plays, no manipulation. Just us, building a life together on our own terms. My parents and I still talk now and then, but things are different. They don't ask for money anymore, and I don't offer. They've tried to guilt-trip me, to make me feel like I'm ungrateful, but it doesn't work like it used to. I see through it now. Looking back, I wish things had gone differently. I wish my parents could have seen my gift for what it was, a chance to start fresh, to be closer as a family. But I've come to understand something important. Some people see generosity as a weakness. To them, giving is just a way to establish control. I don't regret paying off the mortgage. I'm proud of what I did, even if it didn't turn out the way I'd hoped. But I've learned that family isn't defined by blood or by the sacrifices we make for each other. It's defined by mutual respect, by the willingness to grow and change. And if I can't have that with my parents, then I'll build it somewhere else, with people who understand that love and loyalty go both ways.